So thank you everyone for attending tonight. I know it's a Tuesday evening and we've all very busy lives. We've got lots going on in our lives, but those that take the time to educate themselves and learn more about the property market are the people that are making money. So well done joining us tonight. Tonight's presentation is on the Southeast Queensland corridor and especially focusing on these higher cash flow properties. Number of reasons for that. As property prices have started to rise, our yields or our return on our properties, our cash flow has started to reduce, and it's much, much harder to get a property that's covering its expenses. So most property we buy with a standard 20% deposit is negatively geared. And that's okay if it's a small amount and we can afford that. And the property is going up by more in value than we're putting into the property, but it really starts to put a pressure on our cash flow, and that can mean that we have to sell down our portfolio or reduces buying the next property, which really hinders us if we're looking to, build a property portfolio. I was just speaking to a Sydney investor client this week, in fact, and they've got a couple of properties in Sydney that are negatively geared, and one's negatively geared to the tune of about $500 per week. So that's really hindering them, stopping them from moving forward. So it is always very important if you're looking to invest in real estate and hold that property for some time, put tenants in place, that you understand the cash flow of that property before you make a decision. So how much is that property costing me or paying me per week, and can I afford that? And is the property going up in value more than it's costing me out of my pocket? So just a couple of little tips there I thought was really relevant in the current market. So those that have just joined us, welcome along. There is a chat box on the bottom of your screen. So as we run through with questions, please just type questions in the chat box, and we'll have plenty of time in the Q&A to cover off those tonight. So reasons why we've been investing in property, several really positive reinforced reasons. Number one, retirement planning. So as we know, for anyone that we know living on the pension, it is a pretty tough gig. The pensions, most pensioners are barely making it sort of with the cost of living has of course increased, and that's made us much harder to sustain our lifestyle. So once you're in the pension phase and if you're relying solely on the pension, it is a very limited income, and it's probably only going to get tougher because the government can't afford to keep the number of pensioners is growing as a percentage compared to us working that are paying the tax to support those pensioners. So it's not certainly not going to get any easier for pensioners. So all the more reason why we should look to provide for our own retirement. Of course, if we can, reap the rewards of investing in real estate, and I'm sure many watching tonight have already got investment properties, sorry. We can use that equity to do a number of things that helps our lifestyle, help our families if we choose to, help with children into property, and it really can give us a better lifestyle. Number three there, tax benefits. So for anyone new to property investment tonight, essentially the ATO treats investors much like running a business. What that essentially means is most of our expenses related to the property are a tax deduction. And the higher the income that we're on or the higher tax level we're in, the more we can reap those rewards. So the tax benefits can be quite substantial depending on the type of property. I think it's one thing if you're getting into property investment, one thing I've learned is having a very, very good accountant. They can really save you a lot of money, make you a lot more money. So have a good accountant if you haven't already got one. Tax laws are always changing, and a good accountant can really maximise the tax benefits you will receive. Of course, if you've got investment properties and they're starting to grow in value, you can leverage that equity and help pay off your home loan. So as we know, as home owners, our principal place of residence, the debt on that is generally not tax deductible. So we want to obviously, use those properties, investment properties, that equity or that surplus cash flow, pay our principal place of residence off. Hedge against inflation. As we know, inflation's been climbing over the last few years. Everything is costing more, and if we've got money in the bank, depending on what we're getting in terms of interest, it's generally not keeping up with inflation. So that what means that money in the bank is actually losing value, which is no good. It's not helping us. So we need to have a hedge against that inflation, and real estate is one of those things that when inflation's running, and it is, we're getting very good capital growth from the property. And it's not just the deposit that you've put into the property with property, it's the gearing, it's the value of the asset growing. So whether it's 10% on a $500,000 property, if you've put 100,000 in, you will reap that 10% on the 500,000, $100,000 deposit. So it's a great one of the big benefits of investing in real estate as opposed to other asset types. Allows us to diversify our property portfolio. So if we're heavily in shares, it's always good to have a balance, and vice versa. Flexible exit strategy. So with an investment property, we don't necessarily have to sell it to raise cash. Again, if it's gone up in value, and we can quite potentially recycle that equity, pull that equity out to fund our next property, fund our lifestyle, pay our mortgage off, etc. And of course, as we start to build the wealth through investment property, then we could transfer that wealth down to our children or to our family and really give them a kickstart and a head start on the property ladder. We all know if we're in that first-time buyer space, it's very hard to break into the property market. The deposits, because the prices are so high now, excuse me, saving for a deposit is very, very challenging. So if you've got a parent or a family member that can help lend you that money, it can really help you get on the property cycle. And help my own daughter about 4 years ago into the property space, and the difference in their lifestyle now is quite surprising. So I think once you own an asset, a real estate asset, it gives you that peace of mind and comfort that you've got a great asset. Okay, so tonight we're talking about the Greater Brisbane region. So why would we look at Greater Brisbane region? I know many attendees tonight are based around that Sydney market, which has done very, very well. So the Greater Brisbane region's got some real positives. It's obviously performing, very strongly coming out of COVID. But more importantly, it's forecast to keep growing very strongly, over the next few years. So obviously, we've just had the Paris Olympics. We've got the Olympics coming, not too far away, sort of 8 years away now. So all that infrastructure, the focus on Brisbane, all the work that needs doing to create the stadiums, accommodation, etc., is one of the factors. It's creating a lot of employment here. And these people coming into the Greater Brisbane region for work need to rent or buy somewhere. So that's increasing rents, increasing property prices. And then you look at the Queensland population growth, forecast to grow by 16% by the time we get to the Olympic Games, which is quite staggering. Look at Brisbane's house prices over the last 30 years. Of course, history gives us a bit of a track of where we're tracking. 1990 to 2000, 2010, the median selling house price was 527,000. Currently in 2024, as the latest CoreLogic statistics revealed, the latest house selling price in the Greater Brisbane region is now 966,000. So almost $1 million for a medium house price in Brisbane. And we just simply didn't think that was, possible probably 4 or 5 years ago. So it's just that fact of, with real estate, you need to invest and you need to hold on to that property. We know the long-term averages, it does very well, and as long as we're investing in a growth location, but it's very hard to pick the top of the market or the bottom of the market. In fact, it's impossible because we don't see the data to several months after those factors have already taken into account. So if we're trying to, target the top of the market's already falling by the time that data is released, and vice versa. If we're trying to time the bottom of the market, once prices start rising, we've already missed the bottom of the market. So what I recommend is we look at that market in those areas we're looking to invest, do some research, look at all the numbers, the data, the statistics, and then be prepared to hold on to that property for the longer term. And again, just focusing on the Greater Brisbane region, the CoreLogic data there just recent, quite staggering. The month-on-month growth, so 1% in the last month, and that's been averaging over the last few months, 3.4% over the last 3 months, quite staggering, and 15.2% over the last 12 months. And that's a huge growth. It's not the long-term average, but it's just certainly showing that, there's this demand for property prices in the Greater Brisbane region. So there's certainly a lot of demand here. There's not enough property, and that's returning investors and home buyers fantastic, returns. Rental crisis, for anyone that's not familiar with Queensland, we are in a huge rental crisis up here in Greater Brisbane. What we're doing is we're seeing less new builds, new properties being constructed, and more population growth, and that's putting a real, squeeze on the currently rental properties. So anyone that's trying to rent up here in Brisbane, Gold Coast, Brisbane region, is really struggling to get a rental. So It's just one of those factors. The Australian government's obviously let a lot of immigration into Australia, and that's putting real pressure on property prices and, more importantly, rental figures as well. So if you're new to property investing, we'll quite often refer to a vacancy rate. So if you're new to property investing, what a vacancy rate means is it's a percentage of the properties available for rent. For example, if we hear a vacancy rate of 3%, that means it's a pretty tight market. That means for every 100 properties listed for rent, there's about 3 that are currently vacant, which is quite normal with people moving in and out of properties. So anything less than 3% is considered quite a tight rental market, and you'll see most of Brisbane well under the 2%, many suburbs under 1%. So that just gives you confidence as a property investor that you're going to attract tenants, you're going to attract quality tenants, and when the lease comes up for renewal, you're more than likely going to be able to increase the rental income as well. So I've seen that with my own properties up here recently, and we hear there's horror stories of rents going up by 50, 100, $150 a week. Quite amazing. But that's just due to the demand. And again, if you're looking to get into the property investment market up here, that's good news for your cash flow. So talk about population growth. The government forecast, 400,000 residents into Australia last year, and the number was actually about 625,000. So over 200,000 more than they forecast. Obviously, Australia is a really, a nice part of the world to be in. We're very safe, politically, economically. Our wages are well above many parts of the world. And what we're attracting is not only a lot of people, but these people coming in are well educated, qualified, or bringing money into Australia. So the number that backs that up is last year we had 5,200 people come into Australia with a net worth of more than $1 million. And that's a bigger number of people than anywhere in the world, including America. So that just shows this demand for people wanting to come into our great country here in Australia. So that demand and that immigration is just going to set to continue. So again, if you're looking to the Queensland property market, 2% population growth, over the last 12 months, and that's going to continue. So again, hence why property prices and rents are increasing at such a strong rate. Interstate migration, of course, we know a lot of people move from, especially Victoria, coming out of COVID, but of course things have started to settle down all around Australia now, which is fantastic. So what are the real numbers currently? You can see with the arrivals and departures, Queensland's got a net migration gain, interstate migration gain of 32,000, which is obviously well above New South Wales and Victoria. So again, we're looking at the data, the stats that really points a picture of and gives us confidence in the Southeast Queensland current market. So, and that's forecast to continue to grow, as I mentioned, from currently around 4 million to by 2046 to around 6 million. So another 2 million people coming into Queensland, and predominantly the Southeast Queensland part of Queensland. It's going to put real pressure on property prices and rents as well. So we quite often refer to the Greater Brisbane region of Southeast Queensland. Now, I have a lot of clients based in Sydney, and sometimes if you're not inside the Brisbane region, what does Southeast Queensland mean? So for those that are new to looking at the Brisbane market, Southeast Queensland sort of means from north to the Sunshine Coast, right down to the northern Moreton Bay Shires near the water, right into Brisbane, out to Ipswich, Logan, and down to the Gold Coast. So they call it the Southeast Queensland sort of corridor, and that's where most of the immigration is coming into Queensland. That's where all the jobs are, where all the hospitals, infrastructure, and so that corridor is seeing the majority of the population growth. And as you can see on the map there, we are really limited. We go east and we hit the water, so we can't build properties there. And we go inland west, and there's a lot of that state forest or farmland, protected land that we can't build on. A lot of ranges, mountains that come through that corridor. So we're really got a very narrow belt of land that's able to be built on in that corridor. Again, hence why now we're running out of land, hence why we're seeing these strong property prices. So with all this immigration, a lot of new properties being built, but that hasn't, that means we're running out of land now. So hence why going forward over the next few years, the forecasts are very strong for southeast Queensland. A bit about myself. Originally from New Zealand, I've been a long-term property investor. Started in my mid-20s, my first property. As soon as I had some cash, invested in an investment property. So I've been a property investor for many, many years. Built new properties, renovated existing properties, done subdivision. So when you're taking advice from property experts, when you're looking at investment, I think the experience does count, and you should be taking advice from people that have been there and done that. Because every time you do a project or buy or sell an investment property or property, you learn something, and we continue to learn. So having someone that's been through the process, I think if you're working in a team, you one thing I would say is, if you're looking to build your property portfolio, having a team of professionals around you is very, very important. Finance specialists, good solicitors, Queensland-based solicitors. You need to be qualified up here if you're looking to buy in Queensland. Property inspectors, buyers agents that understand investment property, and all that is a very important part of your professional team. Good accountants, as I mentioned earlier, maximise your tax benefits. Good quantity surveyor to do your depreciation reports. So build that. Property managers, if you're looking to invest in real estate and put a tenant in place, I think they are very, very important. On property managers, one bit of advice I would give, after having experience from very good service to very poor service, is pay your property manager well. So I would never go with the cheapest property manager because they might not offer the best service. And a good property manager will make your life as a property investor much smoother. Find a good property manager. See if you can have someone that's recommended. If you're looking for a property manager in Queensland, you're always welcome to reach out to me. I've got good property managers in all parts of southeast Queensland corridor there that I can recommend. So I had a long-term relationship with property myself in New Zealand, and more recently when I've been in Australia for the last 24 years, and seen some phenomenal growth. I mean, I remember in the year 2000 buying my first property on the Gold Coast, 4-bedroom home with a pool, for 180,000. And at the time, the locals thought for that part of the Gold Coast and Northern Corridor it was a lot of money. I thought it was very, very affordable. Those local people hadn't seen the market move for the last few years. So they were under the impression that the property market was never going to go up. Now, after owning property in good markets and slower markets, I understood the cycles and knew that the property long-term would do very, very well. And when we sold that to upgrade to another property, it doubled in value. So look at the long-term growth. And what we think is expensive today is going to be cheaper in the next 5 to 10 years. So just remember, going back 5 or 10 years, especially only 5 years ago, you could buy a really good home in Queensland for 500,000. Now that's really a very limited starting point. So the market's changed. Our median price in Brisbane now, as I mentioned, is in the high 900,000, getting close to $1 million. And many suburbs in Brisbane, the median selling price is over $1 million. The other interesting fact that I've just recently been looking at is statistics on what properties are listed for sale and statistics on what properties are actually selling for. Now, I've never seen this in my real estate career, where the median selling price in CoreLogic is actually higher than the list price. So if you're searching the portals to find property online using realestate.com or domain.com or other sites, and you see the median listing price, and you think that you'll buy that property for that price. In a lot of cases, that's not reality. The properties are actually selling well above that price. So just something, a bit of local knowledge, and that might help you when you're trying to work out what to pay for that property, what to offer for that property. We're seeing a lot of property in the Queensland market being listed without a price or offers above. That's because even the selling agents are not aware of what that property is going to achieve for their seller. They are being paid by the seller to achieve the premium price. That's their job. So just remember that. So that's why a lot of people are employing buyers agents, to have someone on their side to be able to show this all this knowledge and confidence and information and data. So yeah, interesting fact. Medium selling price is actually higher than the medium list price. And again, that just verifies the demand, excuse me, for property up here. We always get asked about, what's happened in the past with properties, and especially again case studies of how our clients have achieved equity growth and wealth through taking our advice and our experience and knowledge. So just share, love to share a couple of case studies here. So property here sourced for a New Zealand investor. So we're not only seeing competition in the Greater Brisbane region from New South Wales and Victoria and other parts of Australia. We're now seeing international buyers coming into the Queensland property market. They're seeing the very good yields, the returns, and still relatively affordable to many markets overseas. And the smart investors. So we've not only got competition from interstate buyers now for our local market, we've also got international competition. That's only going to continue. So again, just another factor when you're making the decision: should I buy now or should I wait? Property purchase price. This was a brand new build for a client, 465,000. Current CoreLogic data, 780,000. So huge equity upgrowth, 315,000. Very good return. Not only that, the income has increased. The rental income has increased significantly. So that property, when first purchased, would have been slightly negatively geared. But now with the rental income, it's quite strongly positively geared. Property on the left-hand side of your screen, that's what we know as a dual occupancy property, so essentially 2 units connected together. Purchased for 600,000 and now worth 950,000, so a 350,000 profit in 5 years is a very good return on investment. And remember, we haven't taken 600,000 cash to buy that property. I used that property with a 10% deposit. So the return on that 80,000 investment to now 350,000, fantastic return. Not only that, the rental income when I first constructed this property, my rental income from the 2 units was 775 a week. Now I'm currently getting 1,060 per week. So again, that long-term growth and holding on to the property has performed very well. Property on the right-hand side of your screen, purchased a property, 4-bedroom home on the northern Gold Coast, and you can see the real numbers there, 540,000 for a brand new property. Just recently got valued at actually well over $1 million for the pool. So the market value without the pool is probably about 970,000. So 429,000 profit in 3 years is quite phenomenal return on investment for my clients. So and you just think you can't save that amount of money. So this is real numbers of what's happening in the Brisbane market. So we talked about the webinar tonight about high cash flow properties and the importance of it. So I'm just on screen. There's just an example what we could buy for 650,000 in the Brisbane market at the moment. The sort of yield rental income we'll get would be around about that 4 to 4.3% yield. And obviously, as you can see there, would be an older high maintenance property. Property on the right hand side of your screen. This is what we call a co-living. So this has got multiple income streams, 3 rental income streams. And at that 830 purchase price for the client, they're going to get about 930 per week. So it's a much stronger cash flow position. As you can see, larger home, less maintenance, much better return for the investor. So comparing those 2 properties, which is very important to look at the numbers, the cash flow. So it's not the land size, it's not the colour of the external walls, it's the property, the location, the demand for that type of property that's going to give you that extra income, rental income, and also that drive that capital growth as well. So just a cash flow comparison of one of those older style existing properties versus obviously a higher price point, multiple income property. So property on the left there, 650,000 purchase price, and these, please bear in mind, these are just approximate figures. They will vary depending on the suburb of the property, how old the property is, etc. These are some generic numbers I've used tonight just to focus on the difference. The rental income for the older property, about 30,000 per year. We'll get a little bit of tax savings, about 2,000. So total income per year, about 32,000. So we've got a loan there of 550,000 at 6.3%. So the mortgage payments are about 34,000. And then we have the property expenses. So the property expenses are the rates, insurance, property management costs, etc. Around about 8,000. So that means that property is costing us around about 10,000 per year. That's around about $200 per week. So it's quite heavily negatively geared. So we just got to, again, before we make a decision, put an offer on a property, we should always run the numbers. I used to do it with my first investment property over 35 years ago. But how much is that property going to cost me or pay me per week, and can I afford that? And is that property growing in value more than that negative gearing? Property on the right, high cash flow, multiple income property, like we just showed you on the screen. So rental income, of course, is much higher. Of course, it's a higher price point property, but the rental income is much stronger, much higher tax savings at $11,000. The reason for that is we can claim all the depreciation on the fixtures and fittings, being a brand new property with an existing property or a property that's more than that we haven't owned from brand new. We lose all the depreciation ability on the fixtures and fittings. So we get much more tax savings. Total income 59,000. So obviously got a bigger loan, but we'll factor that in of 46,000 per year. Property expenses a bit higher with co-living type property, but the huge difference is that property is cash flow positive by about $1,000 per year. So that means it's pretty much covering itself. So I'm just hoping that's highlighting tonight the difference in the income between a highly negatively geared property and a property that's neutral or positively geared, and how important it is to run those numbers. The other big difference is the stamp duty savings. So with an existing property, we'll pay the stamp duty, or an off-the-plan apartment, we'll pay the stamp duty on the purchase price. In this case, 650,000. With the brand new property with a two-part contract, we'll only pay the stamp duty on the land part of the property. So if the land component was 400,000 and the build was 430, means we only pay the stamp duty on the 400,000. So quite significant savings as well. So it definitely adds up. Another case study there. So this is a dual occupancy property I sourced for an investor. So AJ is based in Sydney. He's looking for a high income type property. We sourced this property just over 2 years ago. Purchase price 692,000. Now worth about 850,000. So that profit is 150,000, which is fantastic in quite a short space of time. More importantly, the rental income, when we did the rental appraisal for 2 units, separate units, was combined rental income of about $700 per week. From day one, the client achieved $900 per week. So how good is that? These are the sort of results we're achieving for our clients on the right property in the right location. Now, we've just got a recent case study of one of these high cash flow properties. And I know we forecast the rental income when you went ahead and purchased the property, and it's just been rented out recently, and now you're receiving $150 a week more income than we forecast, which is a great thing.
Yeah, gosh, what a nice surprise that was. Yeah, and to get the tenants so quickly, the property managers on your recommendations have been fabulous as well. And yeah, many of the other recommendations that you gave us for different professionals was super helpful as well, us being in a different state, of course.
Fantastic. And I know for anyone, especially first-time property investors, it's quite a daunting process, especially if you're investing outside your local area and you found the results in southeast Queensland, the Greater Brisbane region, very good. So any tips for first-time investors that are sitting on the fence and not sure whether they should buy or build or wait?
Just jump in, I reckon.
Yeah.
Especially if you've got someone like you helping you. Sorry, what were you going to say?
No, everyone sits on the fence. It's once you take that step, especially with someone like yourself helping along the way.
Marley and Daryl are lovely Melbourne investors, first-time property investors. So, very nervous, weren't sure whether they should build new or buy existing. I sourced both for my clients. So we talked about the pros and cons. We ran through the cash flows in a lot more detail than we did tonight. So co-living, what is it? How does it work? Questions around that. So please fire questions through in the chat box and I'll explain a bit more detail. So essentially a co-living property is, as you can see from the street frontage, this is a real co-living property. From the road frontage is essentially a standard 3 or 4 bedroom house. Now we make some modifications to that house to really maximize the rental income. And these modifications are going to give us around about 35% more rental income. So what do? So as I mentioned, looks like a standard 3 or 4 bedroom double garage home with some significant changes inside. So we come through the entranceway there into the first bedroom. larger bedrooms. We put an ensuite in each bedroom. So each tenant, there's 3 separate tenants in this case, has their own bathroom. We've got digital locks on the doors, so each tenant's got their own privacy, security, and they're on their own separate lease. Fully furnished, so as you see, really nice room, TV on the wall, all the furniture is supplied. So tenant 1 there. We're going to what's known as bedroom 3, which would be the second bedroom. And again, it's got a digital lock on the door, bigger bedroom, higher ceilings, sense of space, its own private bathroom. And now in this design, we've got an extra door there that stays locked while it is rented as a co-living property. And if we want to ever change it back to a family home, or sell it to a family when we sell down our portfolio, we simply unlock that door and lock this door, and then we've got a second family bathroom. So very flexible floor plan, really designed to maximise the rental income while you own the property as an investment property, but also maximise your return when you come to sell that property. And the master bedroom there, it's a really nice master bedroom with a walk-in wardrobe and an ensuite. So 3 separate bedrooms, 3 separate tenants, 3 separate leases. You'll notice the media room here, and that's essentially built as a 4th bedroom. So it has a wardrobe in place, has an external window, and the reason for that is at time of resale, hey, we're going to maximise the value of our home because it's not a 3-bedroom house, it's now a 4-bedroom house. A couple of simple modifications, removing the locks, opening the middle bathroom up. We've gone back to a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom home. So a lot of appeal to home buyers or investors. So it doubles our exit strategy. So again, at time of resale, we could sell to an investor looking for that higher rental income, or we could sell to a home buyer. So much stronger capital growth. So we've got solar on the roof, as you can see there, to minimise the power costs for the investor, and a very low maintenance, modern style home. So this is the video walkthrough. I've got a co-living property.
G'day, James from Gallery Group. I'm at our co-living display, the Pollock 188, 188 square metres. We're going to take a tour through the home and look at all the elements that we include for our end users and also our investors. Come with me. We have 2590 ceilings to open up the space for our 3 tenants. I'm standing in the living room in front of the kitchen, which has some very lovely features, including the stone bench top, the pendant lights, and the gooseneck tap into the sink. Lovely flow through the living room and out into the alfresco dining. This house presents as a 4-bedroom home, which creates a great exit strategy into the local market. But as a co-living home, it has 3 tenants, 3 separate leases, 3 separate bonds, each with their own living quarters, which is their room with their keypads, individual televisions, ACs, and ensuite. And then you move into the living room, which I'm standing in right now, with a large open living space. Welcome to the Pollock 188.
Okay, so that was a case of a co-living property. Now, we've actually got that as a display home up here in Queensland, so if any of you watching tonight would like to come up and walk through it and feel it yourself, but as you can see, very high level of finishes, everything's included in the price, and it's very appealing for a single person to rent. So we've done some research on these co-living properties in terms of the demand, who's going to rent these properties. You can see the statistics to back that. So the builder has their own property management arm, and it's very specialised, the property management, of course, of a co-living. So they profile match the tenants. They set some very strong ground rules in place. So single people only, no couples, no children, no pets. So it's a 3 separate people living together in the home, but they've got their own security, their own private bathroom, digital lock on the door, so they've got no one's got access to their bedroom. They even have separate pantries, lockable pantries as well, so they keep their own food. So it's really designed the best case of living for a single person, as opposed to house sharing, which is very different. The number or the demographic of single people is increasing. as a size of the a portion of the population. You know, a lot of people coming out of marriages, relationships now becoming single, and a lot of younger people not getting into relationships. So that demand for that single person accommodation is getting stronger, and they're on a single income. And if they apply for it to rent a house for a unit, they're really struggling now, because even the property managers want to know their income. And of course, if they've got other people applying that are couples or groups, these single people still have to have an income and a job, are really missing out. So it's designed to really cater for those average people on average incomes that are single and just simply can't get a rental house or a unit. So average age, about 33, the average length of stay is 4 to 5 years, so no different from a traditional family. Happy to pay $50 per room more than a standard shared house, because of course, bigger rooms, higher ceilings, individual air cons, fully furnished, security. So when we started building these a number of years ago, the builder went around and started doing surveys and asked them what are some of the key things that single people need. And some of their main priorities were, private bathrooms, en suites, lockable bedrooms and pantries, dedicated co-living. So again, no couples, children, pets, fully furnished. That's very easy for them to move in and move out. Air conditioned so they can control their own rooms, and close to infrastructure, close to work and public transport, of course. So we can't build these out in the middle of nowhere. They've got to be in the areas where there's a lot of population growth, a lot of infrastructure, of course, already in place. So the builder we use for these co-livings, I've worked with this builder for many years, over 10 years, in fact, for clients. Very good quality. They have some very good build guarantees, as you can see there. Recently built a co-living that was finished within 5 months, which is incredible, from start on site to finish to handover. I've got another one under construction at the moment, and that's going to be finished ahead of the schedule as well. So I know we all hear the horror stories about construction in Sydney. We work with very good wholesale builders up here in Queensland that only focus on building the homes. They don't deal with the public. They don't have big display homes. They just focus on what they're good at, which is construction. The benefit of a company such as Gallery Homes, they're a dedicated builder. They're also a developer, so they have their own trades. They're not relying as much as sub-trades, hence they're being able to offer these guarantees, which they put in writing for our clients, which is very good. It gives you, as an investor, peace of mind. 4 weeks on start from the time they lodge with the council. Again, very, very quick. And of course, a rental guarantee as well. So to give you as the investor that, that peace of mind. The other type of high cash flow properties is what's known as a dual occupancy property. So that's essentially 2 units under the one roof. So the benefits of these, again, we can, increase the rental income 30 to 35%. And it's on one title, so we only have one set of outgoings, unlike a duplex that's on 2 titles. So one set of rates, insurances, etc. And these are really designed to maximise our rental income. So it could be a combination of a 3 or 4 bedroom unit on one side, and then a 1 or 2 bedroom unit, like a granny flat, on the other side, depending on the council and the land size. So in this case, there's a floor plan on the screen there. So as you can see, down the centre here, we have it's a double frame, double jib rock, soundproof and fireproof wall, goes right up through the middle of the building, right up through to the ceiling. So there's no noise, and it's fireproof. It must be fireproof as well. So special material. So it's a very divided, totally separate units. So on the right, it could be traditionally it's a 3-bedroom unit with 1 bedroom there, master bedroom with an ensuite. Here, this one's actually got a walk-in wardrobe. Floor plan designs, land size will depend on the block itself and what we can fit on that property. The land must be zoned for a dual occupancy property here in Queensland, so it's got to be a certain size, and it's got to be designated dual occupancy under the code, building code. So we can't build them everywhere, but we can source land where we can build them. And on the other side of the dividing wall, we might have a 1 or 2 bedroom unit as well. So totally separate, separate water meters, separate power meters. And again, some investors, prefer these because they can be rented out to individual tenants, separate, totally separate. I've built a couple of these myself for my own portfolio, worked very, very well. Here's a recent case of a client going through a new construction. So this was a standard home, a great result. So the price point for the new house was 750,000. So that's the brochure that I took a snapshot from, and you can see the land price there, 398,500. And if you go on realestate.com to replace that land on a very similar land size now, 488,000. So you know, that's it's about 85 to 90,000 profit in under 12 months. We actually just handed over the property today. It was second practical completion inspection. Got the property manager involved, took photos today, very professional. It was a very smooth process. It's actually finished ahead of schedule, and the clients made equity upside already without even putting tenants in place before we've even got completed construction. So a great, fantastic result for an investor that we've achieved. Very nice location there. It's in Redland Bay, so near the water there, and an estate that's got a high percentage of owner occupiers. So one tip for new investors: wherever you're investing, just check the ratio of investors versus rental property, and obviously you want a reasonable number of home buyers as opposed to investors in that area that you're looking to buy for capital growth. A great return for the Sydney investor, Mitt. This was the a screenshot when I was able to build at the first practical completion about a week and a half ago. And we looked at the building contract. So the contract start date was 1st of March this year. And the contract was due to end on the 5th of December. You know, and here we are, the 17th of August, and we've already at completion handover will be in the next few days. So we're essentially 3 months ahead of the build contract. Now, how good is that? That's a fantastic result. So it reduces the client's holding cost. Means the client can start receiving rental income 3 months ahead of what we forecast in the numbers. So, you know, just another case of a very good result for a client. So how do we get ahead and you know, make money from investing in real estate? So it's a very competitive market in Queensland. It's much like Sydney and the rest of Australia. There's more buyers than sellers. So generally, with a property, we can secure it with what's called an expression of interest. Takes it off the market, gives us time to you know, get the contract prepared, contracts, get finance approved. Once we get finance approved, we go unconditional, and then we start the if it's a new build, we start construction. If it's an existing property, we hand over. If it's a new build, I have some processes in place to make sure my clients are going to get a very good quality finished build. So we have independent building inspectors that we bring in for a two-stage independent building report at the completion stage. So they do what's known as a defects report. So that first report gets sent to the builder and to the client and to myself. The builder rectifies any of those little things that missed the new construction. There is a lot of moving parts. Hey, we're making a lot of money, so we've got to expect a little bit of pain during the construction process. But more importantly, we manage that by having this independent building inspection. First report goes to the builder, they rectify these defects, and then we go back with a second inspection, and the inspector checks that those defects have been rectified. We went through this exact process today with that property you saw on the screen. All the defects have been rectified. You know, the building inspector was very happy, and property looks fantastic. We had the property manager there today. They actually took professional photos. It was very clean and tidy, immaculate, ready to rent out and start generating, you know, rental income. Just remember, for Mitt, he's already got equity upside by the time the property is actually completed, which is what we're seeing over the last few years for our investors. So just another great case of a great result. Now I'm just going to play this video. I'm not sure how good the audio quality is, but I am going to play it because this was a client that went through one of these co-living homes recently, and again it was finished within the 5-month
we found a high cash flow investment property which will give you about 35% more rental income than a standard house. So the home was started 5 months ago, and here we are 5 months later. Home handover today. Very exciting.
Yeah,
congratulations.
Exciting. Pretty good job. From what I can see, I recommend Gallery Home.
Thank you. Great, exciting time. So this is what you can do when you have a good team and you're really committed, have a goal. 2 years after moving into your own home, you're into your first investment property. That's an amazing result. So yeah, well done, and we're sure we'll help you keep building your property portfolio.
And also, I just want to thank you also for taking your time calling you midnight every time, trying just to get things through. You've been able to like work out things with us from the start to the end, giving us where we needed advice and where we needed help. You came through for us. So we're excited like for all you've done. So we appreciate your effort.
Thank
you very much.
You're welcome. It's been an absolute. We found them.
I'm not sure how that audio quality went through, and I'm happy to share the presentation. You can watch it in your own time. But essentially, we helped Abaji into his own home in the Brisbane North Corridor about 3 years ago. The property performed very well. He hadn't saved a cash deposit, but probably gone up that much that he was able to take the equity out and fund his deposit for his investment property. So this is one of these high cash flow properties. We've just finished it, and it's ready to rent out now. Property's already worth a lot more than he paid on contract. So again, if you'd like to see that, just reach out, and happy to share that. But it was a really good case study of a client working very hard, got his own property, and then using the equity smart to invest and build his property portfolio. Great thing about property, you can really use that equity growth to grow your property portfolio. So just on screen here, a bit of an example. If we're looking for new properties, the sort of price range, we always get asked, what can we find property for in Queensland in a good growth location? So this would be in that southeast Queensland corridor. So new homes sort of under the 750 mark. These higher, cash flow type properties, the co-living, multiple income properties, sort of from the 8s upwards, and the dual occupancies probably from the high 8s sort of upwards as well. But these are giving you much more capital growth, much more tax savings, and much more cash flow. So it allows you to, again, when you come back to get this property finished and rented out, and you go back to the bank to use that, borrow the money for the next investment property, having that extra rental income is really going to help you. Quick screenshot there. Just had a property, one of these co-living properties, come through today that generally in the sort of 830 to $1 million park. Just had one come through the builder that offered to me today. So a very low price point for a co-living. So anyone that's ready to go, wants to save some money, Brisbane North Side, 764,000 purchase price, and that'll rent for a minimum of 900 per week. So very high yield. Very rare to see that 6% plus now. One only, but if you're looking to make a decision, you want to make some money and save on the new price point that will be going up, and it's generally much higher than that now in the current market, please just reach out. There'll be a link to book a strategy call with myself. Welcome to reach out from one of my emails via email or phone call, or put a yes in the chat box if you'd like the full property information, and we can email that through to you. As a bit of a thank you tonight for spending your time. I understand we're all very busy, lots going on in our lives, but the fact that you guys have taken the time out of your evening to spend with us, really appreciate it. So I'd like to offer a couple of bonuses there tonight for anyone that is ready to make a decision. So as I mentioned earlier, we secure a property with an expression of interest, and we're quite happy to pay your legal fees. So a bit of a thank you. In Queensland, that's valued about $2,000. And also as a buyer's agent, so if I'm sourcing property for clients, I generally charge them a buyer's agent fee, as you'll find with any buyer's agent, complimentary, so quite a significant saving of around about $10,000 if you like making money on real estate and ready to make a decision and like to save some money. So thank you everyone for attending tonight. I've just gone through my screen. We are just going to open up the Q&A very shortly, so just bear with me while I go back to the slides. Okay, happily we're back to the screen number 1. Okay, so again, thank you everyone for attending tonight. I will be going through those questions tonight, so we've already got some questions coming in. So excellent. So I'll read these questions out because a lot of our other attendees tonight will have the same sort of questions. Great question from Saranga about the property management. Of course, there's a higher property management cost because there's a lot more work managing 3 separate tenants. So the property manager's commission is 12% plus GST, so a bit higher than standard. But again, that's factored into the cash flow. There's a lot of work with managing 3 tenants, setting the rules, profile matching the tenants, and also that the property manager has a database of single people looking for rooms as well. So you're going to get that property rented out much faster. Case in point, recently had a co-living property built through a traditional property manager, looking at renting that property, and we were looking. We forecast $900 per week, so $300 per room on the Brisbane north side for one of my doctor clients in Perth. Gallery took over the property management of that, and from day one they rented that property out for $350 per room. So $1,050 per week. So that's $150 per week more than forecast, and what the other property manager could achieve. So that's a massive gain. So again, it's not one. Property managers are really important. A good property manager is ultra important. So another question there. Oh, yeah, about the furniture pack. So in the co-living properties, so as we showed you on screen, I'll just flip back to that screen. And I know so the purchase price for the co-living includes the furniture pack. You're welcome to source it yourself, but that's all included in the purchase price. Separate contract for the furniture pack. And also you don't have to use Gallery Homes for your co-living property management. You can source your own property manager, personal advice and experience. If it's co-living, you need a specialised property manager. Now, with the dual locks, yeah, if you've got your own good property manager up in Queensland, most good property managers will understand how to rent out a dual occupancy property. Thank you, Mish. Welcome. My pleasure presenting tonight. Got a question there about the dual occupancy. Just to clarify that, yes. So dual occupancy has two separate leases in place. The parties don't have to be related, and they are very private. So it's separated. So they have a wall between the two properties that separate them, and also in terms of the dual occupancy property there, you can see on the screen. Just make sure that it's sharing the screen. Okay, so the dual occupancy one there is, as I mentioned, a separate wall between the two parties, and at the back there's a fence between the two backyards to separate them as well. So each tenant has their own private backyard that work very well. Question there, but can we just clarify locations? Yes, so in the dual occupancies, the land must be zoned for dual occupancy. Also, there's a minimum land size as well. So many parts of Brisbane we can build them. Each different council has different requirements. So again, if you like the idea of the dual occupancy, best to reach out, book a quick call, and we can look at type of property. So you're just clarifying only one set of rates, but we separate have two separate water meters, sub meters, and separate power meters as well. So you can separate so the tenants pay for the power and water like a traditional, more like a traditional house, I guess. Yeah. So question about other parts. Can we source property in other parts of Australia? Yes, we can. As a buyer's agent, I have research and search sourcing tools for many parts of Australia. We are really focusing on the southeast Queensland corridor, because honestly, I believe that's where the growth is, the population, and going forward over the next few years, it's very stable. There's a lot of industry in the Greater Brisbane region. I'm seeing that I'm on the road, minimum probably 2 days a week, and everywhere we're going, we see more cars, more congestion, more road expansions, new infrastructure going in, new government spending, new private spending. So that's a sign of confidence in the market. New schools going up everywhere. So the government doesn't build new schools because it wants to spend some money. It builds new schools because it's forecasting, the population growth. So wherever you see a Bunnings or McDonald's pop up, school being built, that's a sign of growth in that location. Great question there about the net rental yield. So when we're looking at yields being quoted, most avenues quote a gross yield. So that's the annual rent divided by the purchase price, and it's considered the gross rental yield. That's without all the property expenses. So the real number is the net rental yield. So as an example, in Brisbane, The gross rental yield for a standard 4-bedroom home is around about 4%, 4 to 4.2%. The net yield's going to depend on the property and the expenses, and the rental income is probably going to be around about 2.5 to 3%. Whereas the co-living or the dual occupancy is going to be around about 6% gross, and probably around about 4.5 to 5 net after all expenses. So I do a very detailed cash flow forecast. So again, much higher, as you mentioned, you would be aware in Sydney, you know, the gross rental incomes around that sort of 2.5 to 3%, less the property expenses. Most property on a standard deposit is quite heavily negatively geared. And just remember, with property investment, you know, the longer you own it, the more the rental income in a growth location will go up. So a good question there, but yeah, they're generally giving about 30 to 35% more rental income than a standard home. So great results there. Question there about other price points for the Greater Brisbane region, and what we'd recommend. So what I would recommend is avoiding those lower social economic areas where there's hasn't been as much growth. The properties might be cheap. They're cheap for a reason. They might be high maintenance. They might be in a flood zone, old properties, not council compliant. All those sort of things you need to be aware of. So if I'm sourcing an existing property for a client, the first thing we do is run some overlays over the property, make sure it's not affected, and it's going to rent out well in a good area, and there's not going to be any major issues. So if you're new to property investment, I would avoid those older properties that are high maintenance. They cost you a lot of money. Getting trades and materials now is a real nightmare because everyone's busy, and you don't want to be spending a lot of money on renovating your investment property, especially if it's interstate or outside your local area, or if you can't do the skills yourself, or you're relying on a lot of other tradespeople, and that's downtime when you're not getting that rental income as well. So multiple income properties, great. We do other sorts of properties. So if you're looking for even higher cash flow type properties, then we would go into properties like the rooming accommodation or the special disabilities accommodation. They are more like a commercial investment. These properties that we're focusing on tonight are more like standard residential real estate. So the benefit of that is the yields are a bit higher than a standard house, or much higher, but you've also got the capital growth being in a residential area as well. So if you're solely focused on high yield, high cash flow, they are more like a commercial purchase decision. And yes, we can source those, but they're more on an individual case and generally a much higher price point because it's more bigger properties, more rental income sources. So if you're looking for that, again, just put that in the chat box before we end the webinar tonight, and then we can have that discussion. Happy to send you the slideshow if you'd like to see the presentation, those testimonials we run through tonight. If you go to our GCT Property YouTube channel, you'll see a lot of content that we've created on there, and clients have experiences feedback. So I'd recommend that you go and check that out. If you'd like to speak to us, reach out through my sources, my email or my phone, and we're happy to have that conversation and just answer those questions and give you some advice of what the sort of money can buy in there. So Lisa, my operations manager, just kindly put in the my YouTube channel in the chat box. So if you want to open that before we end the webinar, you can just open that in another tab, and please have a look at the content, and love to hear your feedback. So we're going to wrap up the webinar very shortly. So thank you everyone for attending tonight. I hope everyone's got some value. Would love to see some feedback of the thoughts and information that we've provided tonight before we wrap up the session, because it really helps us. We're always looking to improve the content and the quality of the information that we provide to our clients. We help home buyers, we help investors. We source, as I mentioned, existing properties and new property. An exciting time for property investors in Southeast Queensland. Clients are getting great results. I've seen my own properties perform very well in terms of rental increases and capital growth, and that's very encouraging. But people that are making the money, the people that are making decisions. So if you're sitting on the fence, if you look at the CoreLogic data over the last 12 months, property prices in Brisbane have climbed every month, month on month. So what that means is we can wait and see, and prices will keep going up, or we can make a decision and get in on the property market. Great question about landlord's insurance being high for co-living. Great question. Yes, it is slightly higher. So building and landlord's insurance for a standard house, we're allowing around about sort of 1,800 to 2,000 per year for that, and for the co-living sort of around about the 2,500, 2,600, so just a few $100 more for landlord's insurance, but it is a little bit higher. But again, that much more stronger rental income means your net income, more importantly, your net income is much higher. So, and that's all factored in. I do a very detailed cash flow forecast based on your situation. So if you say, hey, Geoff, I'm putting in a 10% cash deposit, interest rates this, taxable income is this, we can actually do a really detailed which shows you, all the purchase costs, stamp duty, allows for solicitors costs, shows you all the annual property expenses, rates, property management, building insurance, landlord's insurance, maintenance, etc. So we go down to a very high level of depth and information in terms of the cash flow forecast, to give you that confidence before you move forward that property is going to be affordable and what those numbers are going to look like. As I mentioned, really important before you purchase a property, put an offer on a property, that you've run the numbers and you're comfortable around how much that property is going to cost or pay you per week. So the link to my strategy call, so you can book a call on my calendar there at a suitable time, is in the chat box. So just before we end the webinar, just please grab that, open that in another tab, and you can book on a suitable time. And we can have a quick discussion and see if investing in Southeast Queensland is right for you, or if you've got any questions, concerns, happy to have that conversation. So for those that are based in Sydney, great to get down there. I have a lot of Sydney investors that we help in state, now international investors, and the smart ones are really taking advantage of the strong market here in the greater Brisbane region. So we're going to wrap up, as I mentioned, very shortly. Again, really enjoyed putting on the presentation. Hope everyone's learnt at least one thing from tonight's presentation and excited about their property investment journey going forward. And love to meet you in person or have a call. There's a question in there about coming up and meeting us and going out and looking at property. Yes, so if you're based in the state and you just really want to come up and have a bit of a feel for the area or the property type and show you some of these brand new finished homes or existing areas, yes, happy to spend a few hours in the car driving around. So yeah, just look at it. If you're ready to go, you just need that extra bit of confidence, happy to have a Zoom call and can show you a lot of data, information on Google Maps about locations. If you want to come up, you're welcome to book a suitable time for us both. And I'd love to show you one of these properties in person. So all good. Well, thank you again, everyone, for attending. I hope you've gained some insights and knowledge into the Brisbane market and enjoyed the presentation. We are going to wrap up very shortly. So just grab any of those links or put any messages in before we end the presentation tonight.